Freedom is taken, but discipline begets freedom. Develops duty, replaces addiction with independence. Reaction with action. Activates dependability. Dependability requires availability. Availability trumps ability and begets consistency. Consistency births integrity, and integrity is resiliency. And in times of terror and tribulation, integrity begets endurance, which begets existence. And in the worst of times, just existence is resistance. Retired soldier, special agent and spy, turned whistleblower warrior, served in sabotage, rejected and redeemed, failed and forgiven, betrayed and saved, rejecting revenge, humbled and blessed, repurposed in redemption as chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller, now America's intelligence officer, following God, leading my family, and they choose to join on our long walk to faith and freedom. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. And I am very happy to have my good old friend Mike Adams joining me for the show. And that's the title of the show is Mike Adams AI Answer. And we're going to be talking about how AI sways lazy with fake data, why we are the envy of angels, the J6 pipe bomber, STOOGE FBI ID'd in 2021, Irish and British resistance to spill over into the US, and troops in US cities here to stay, and violence is inevitable in that. But Mike, welcome, and I'm so glad to have you. I saw your Natural News article on research finds that AI chatbots sway political opinion, but flood conversations with inaccurate claims. So could you elaborate on that to set the stage for the problem?
Yes. And by the way, thank you for inviting me on your show. It's always an honor to join you. Appreciate all your service and everything that you're doing for our freedom. So yeah, right to your point on the story. So it turns out that AI is incredibly persuasive, more persuasive than most humans. And as a result, when AI chatbots are generating comments on social media, which they are, especially on X, probably half the channels you have to block are just AI chatbots. Those chatbots can be incredibly persuasive, even if they're not well informed. And so this has enormous implications for our political dialogue and, you know, the election coming up in roughly a year or so here in the US. But it means that we are going to be inundated with messaging, and in fact, multimodal messaging from AI agents, not only AI text, but of course, podcasts, audio, video, and avatars as well. And there are now very compelling avatars. There are two services that can generate avatars. One of them is Kling, but also, of course, Google's tech generates compelling avatars. Excuse me. And as a result, there are videos now on YouTube that are getting a lot of views that look like a human being talking, but they are not. They are completely AI-generated people making seemingly compelling points, seemingly real, but they're not real. So YouTube is about to shift into something like 80% AI-generated content. And that's why your audience, I know, appreciates you and me and the things that we do here, because we're still human. we haven't been replaced yet, Jeff, by AI avatars. So we're still human, and we still bring that human perspective. So there you go.
That's what I've always thought as I looked at the problems with AI. It was really designed to be a propaganda platform to control us. And that's what I see you're saying here. But you're also saying that the more, I think, if I'm understanding the article correctly, when instructed to pack arguments facts, GPT 4.0 saw accuracy rate drop from 78% to 62%. So the more that they pack on, the less accurate it is, although the more persuasive it is. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that's true, but there's a fundamental problem with mainstream AI engines, which we have overcome in our AI engine. Think about it. Google and ChatGPT, OpenAI, Meta, etc., Microsoft, they're all claiming to build reasoning models, but then they train them on left-wing irrational nonsense like climate change, the cult, or LGBT, transgenderism, that a man can become a woman, something that a 5-year-old knows is not true. But somehow these AI engines that we're told are going to solve all the problems of the world, they're going to solve math, they're going to solve cancer, they're going to, refactor everything in our reality. They still think that men can become women. So there's a conflict under the hood of those engines where they are radically irrational. A lot of them are trained on Reddit content, which is sketchy at best and definitely strongly irrational. So what we've done with our AI engines, which are free to use, by the way, you can see all of my AI tools at brighteon.ai. Our engine has been trained on 2 years of curated data that I personally curated to be rooted in reality. And that's why our AI engine beats ChatGPT on everything from vaccines to climate reality to monetary policy. Now, it doesn't beat it on high-level math problems, but in terms of things that are reality-based, our engine is better than their engine. We built it for only $2 million, while they spent hundreds of billions of dollars. So the truth is, Jeffrey, that these mainstream AI engines are going to continue to be, well, retarded for as long as they continue to be trained on retarded content. And
it also starts from false premise that the creation is random. Although mathematics, although if you're going to rely on a rational mind that we have, then obviously a rational mind has to come from a rational mind designer. But of course, this is where we get into scientism. So what you're saying is the whole basis of everything that their models are based upon is false and flawed, and therefore the more you multiply it, the more false and flawed it gets.
Well, that's correct. And remember that all these models were trained on human content. And human content beginning in about 2014, the globalists ran intense censorship campaigns to remove all alternative views from the internet because the internet was being scraped to train the AI models. So that's why you were censored. That's why I was censored, because they didn't want us influencing the AI models that would be released and produced by companies like Meta and Google. And so Google, the same.
That's a great point. Wow.
Yeah. That's really why they censored us. They didn't care that we were talking to other humans. What they cared was that we were influencing the AI engines. So,
Wow.
Google is a disinformation search engine. It doesn't expose you to knowledge or truth or information. It's designed to limit your access to information and to isolate you from knowledge. And that's also the way Gemini works and other AI engines from these mainstream tech companies. And one of the things that has happened recently in the last year in US engines is they have stopped publicly releasing open source engines. Meta used to release a lot of open source, even OpenAI did. That has completely stopped. And at the recent tech conferences where they typically would publish and share information about their internal science advancements, all the US companies have stopped publishing publicly. They've closed up the boxes. Now everything is a black box secret of what's happening internally. And instead, China is releasing all kinds of open source models. China's releasing the best science papers on AI. And at these AI conferences, the most common language that you hear spoken is Mandarin. And that's because China, through Alibaba and other companies, DeepSeek, for example, is leading the way now in open source AI. And Chinese models are competitive with US models, even though the Chinese models are free. And we can talk about what that strategy is, but it's interesting to me that the Chinese models don't censor the same things that the US models censor. They do censor things about Tiananmen Square and the Chinese Communist Party, et cetera, but they don't censor the same cultural things that we censor in the United States. For example, transgenderism and LGBT themes and things like that. But also France has just released a lot of new open source models through the Mistral company. And of course, we've released an open source model. You can see that at brighteon.ai. And lastly, I want to mention, we have our new book site. I know you wanted to talk about that. We can talk about it more. But if you go to brightlearn.ai, we now have over 500 books that are published there. And they're all free to download and share. And this is a knowledge base that we're building for humanity. And these are all based on our AI engine prompted by users like you. And so these are just some of the books that are available right now. Again, 519 books at the moment. Soon there will be thousands, and we're going to have free downloads for all the books for everybody to build an entire knowledge base at home. You can put it on a thumb drive. It's all free. So that's what we're doing to try to decentralize knowledge. But we can get into more details.
No, yeah, that's great. In fact, I have one of my many sticky notes here, which is something I was going to work on, is another book. I've published several books, but it's going to be Jeffrey Prather's poems and major memes, because I do my intros and my extras, and I see them on X, because that's mimetic warfare. My most famous one being Freedom is Taken. So that's the book I want to do with Brighteon AI.
I will get you a token this evening, and you can just paste in all your notes and let this engine take a shot at it and see what you think.
Oh, that sounds great. Thank you. But so this isn't just, and these are free, right?
They're free, yeah, all free.
So there's no monetization here. So one thing, we've been friends a long time, and we kind of came up at the same time, got kind of famous through Clay Clark. But I think we've seen a lot of our peerage get paid off and go into the Zionist corner. And we see that everywhere now. This Nick Fuentes kid, looks like he's a Fed for sure. He was calling people to go into J6, disregard the cop. I was telling people not to go there. All of that across the board. But where you and I are different is we are not dependent upon any sponsors' incomes, because you have all your health store great work. I have my competitive intelligence work, but then also we are both working through Christ, through biblical truth, to give a straight line of truth as a basis for everything else we are doing. And I see that we're kind of paralleling that. I think that's really cool. Unless I've got all that right, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's worth noting that Israel just radically increased its propaganda budget to over $600 million this coming year. And a lot of that money.
They just got 1,000 American preachers. And I just put this on X, so read this with eyes to see. A foreign head of state who denies the divinity of Jesus is telling false American Christian Zionist pastors what to preach.
Yeah, that's completely insane. That's really an antichrist philosophy in my view.
It's antichristic. It is totally antichristic.
So, but to your point, yes, we are able to release these tools for free because of our store, healthrangerstore.com. And we have, I don't know, 1 million customers or whatever the number is who choose to support us, because they know that we are paying it forward by reinvesting in tools to help people become creators or makers, if you like that term better, to be able to make books, to be able to create articles through our AI engine, etc. So we have a relationship with our supporters to say, okay, you purchase products from us, which are laboratory tested, certified organic, ultra clean, etc. And then we will reinvest into tools that empower you and help you achieve decentralization of knowledge and know-how. And that's our secret business model, I suppose. It's not, it transcends a business model. It's a mission model. Of course, you need a certain amount of money to do it, but we've been blessed. We've been blessed by God. We've been blessed by our customers, and we have the means to carry this out. And so right now, our store actually donates the compute for the book generator site. And that's working great. But I suppose if 1 million people start to use the site, we might have to ask for donations or something. But so far, it's well within our expenditure range.
And I got to thank you for publishing my last 2 sermons and Substacks there, because they're very controversial.
I read that. Yeah.
American Jewish president. But you have hundreds of sermons of your own.
Well, I have 104 sermons that I did starting about a year ago, and then I stopped doing them. And one of the reasons I stopped doing the sermons was because, well, I guess we're going to get controversial here as usual, But it's when I found out that the practice of Christianity in America, and I'm not saying Christianity itself, because I believe in the teachings of Christ and I follow those teachings, but the way it is practiced and weaponized is fraudulent across many, many churches, especially the mega churches.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Completely, totally. That's why in Christ Sanctioned Chaplaincy, we're emulating Yeshua. We're doing things the way he did it. Get a lot of flack, for that, but also using the Didache, which is not the teachings of the Lord Jesus Christ by the 12 apostles. It's actually the training of it.
Well, and what I realized in doing my sermons was that the vast majority of so-called Christians, and again, it's going to be controversial, the vast majority, there are exceptions, but the vast majority, they do not want to know anything about Christianity. They don't want to know about the history of the Bible. They don't want to know about the lost books. They don't want to know about the Vatican counterfeiting entire books of the Bible, counterfeiting words from the apostles, mistranslating on purpose. The average Christian doesn't want to know any of that. What they want is to just stick with their faith-based storytelling narrative that is accepted by their peers in their church, and they don't want that disrupted regardless of what history and facts actually say. So anytime you try to teach a Christian, a mainstream Christian, try to teach them about the Bible, and this is what led me to say the hardest thing in the world is to teach a Christian what the Bible says, because most of them do not know. Now, again, your audience is very sophisticated, very informed. They know far more, and so does my audience. But I'm talking about mainstream Christians. They don't know much of anything about Christianity. It's just bizarre.
No, you've got the Kenneth Copeland crowd. You've got the Joel Osteen crowd, which are just ridiculous. And then you've got the guys knocking people down when Yeshua rose them up. I mean, and I talk about that too all the time, not to put them down, but to just show how off track people are from everything.
It's extraordinary. It
is extraordinary. Yes.
It's like they would rather have a certain belief than to know, like about Jesus's brother, James. Or let's say if you bring up like the Gospel of Thomas, so, well, that's been, debunked. That's not true. Well, of course the Vatican would say that, because the Gospel of Thomas taught that Christ is in all of you, decentralized, and you don't have to go to a building and worship in a building in a church in order to know God. I mean, the Gospel of Thomas is the ultimate spiritual decentralization. So of course the church hated that. You see, I mean, you have to apply reason to the whole history of Christianity if you really want to understand it.
Split the wood, lift the rock, I am there, is Thomas, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, very, very Zen-y. I studied Zen Buddhism in a Zen temple growing up, my first karate dojo. So
outstanding.
Yeah. And of course, the kingdom of God, and that aligns with, so Thomas is later gospel, but aligns with the kingdom of God is within you, which is right. Synoptic as well. But let's get back to, so we're both using a Christic truth line via scripture for what we're doing. And we're also trying to help. I'm doing that through the chaplaincy, doing that through Team America, through the Prather Point. And that's what you're doing as well, is, you're not just simply commentating or, criticizing, but actually trying to change things. And on the cutting edge of the battlefield, which is cyber, which is AI. And that's why I think what you're doing is so important. And what's the significance of calling your AI engine Enoch?
Well, okay, so that name, that's just a nickname, but it, of course, refers to the Enoch and the lost books of the Bible, lost knowledge, forbidden knowledge that you're not supposed to know about, and all the books of the current Bible that were deleted and stripped out of it. So, Enoch represents lost knowledge. And our AI engine, which won't be named Enoch next year, by the way, we'll have a new name for each version of it. But it's, we, like I said earlier, we have curated this vast amount of data and knowledge over the last couple of years. And we have trained our model on that knowledge, which includes the truth about the climate, why photosynthesis is critical and why it needs carbon dioxide in order to function, and why a man is a man and a woman is a woman, and the families are important and human reproduction is important. So our model understands reality from a pro-human point of view and a pro-reason point of view, and which I think in most cases, that's what Enoch was searching for truth.
That's the opposite of the AI models, is because the
right.
earlier models were telling the one guy to leave his wife and then commit suicide, and he was doing that. So
yeah. Well, again, so let's talk about AI technology as a whole, because it can be used for demonic, anti-human purposes, which is what ChatGPT is, in my opinion.
Yes,
or it can be used for pro-human technology, which is what we are doing, which is decentralization, knowledge, truth as best we can achieve it. Our engine is not perfect yet, by the way. It'll never be perfect, but it will continue to improve as we're actually curating many more books and science papers, processing over 100 million published science papers right now in our data center. And I'm about done processing 250,000 books to determine their alignment with these values, and only the ones that match those values are going to be used to train the engine. So what the mainstream companies do is they'll take millions of books and they'll just feed them into the engine, whatever they say. I'm the other way around. I'm very specific about what is the message and the motivation and the values or morality taught in these books, and only the ones that match our alignment are allowed to influence our engine. So that's the difference.
So how does one do? How am I going to do this? Walk me through the process.
Do you want to use our engine, or do you want to create a book, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, well, let's do both. Let's talk about. Well, first of all, using the engine is just pulling it up and querying it. Is that correct?
Yeah. That's at brightu.ai. You just type in your prompt, and it's free. It does ask you to register after 3 prompts, and that's it. You can ask it anything. You can ask it about health. It's got a wellness coach. Actually, here, let me bring up that page.
Yeah.
brightu.ai. Do you see? Let me show you the screen here. Knowledge without censorship. And if you scroll down, you can just ask any question right here, or you can scroll down and there's special coaches. You can ask our wellness coach, which knows more than any doctor about nutrition. You can ask our financial coach about money and risk and how to reduce risk, etc. Here's our ingredients analyzer for any kind of food or personal care product ingredient. Here's our survival coach, and you can ask it about what are things for survival. Let's try the survival coach. What do you say?
Sure.
Okay, what would you like to ask it, Jeffrey? Something about preparedness.
Yeah, what's the basics for preparedness?
Okay, for preparedness, let's say against natural disasters and economic collapse. I'll just add a little qualifier there for you. So here we go. You can see it's already generating the answer. This is a fairly short answer, but here it is, the basics. Here's your emergency plan, communication, evacuation. You see the supply kit. Here's just the basics of the supply kit, financial preparedness, skills and knowledge, community, etc. And then update your plan. Then it gives you some articles that are related. Now I could ask a follow-up question. Give me a detailed bug out bag kit inventory list for a vehicle to be used to bug out from a disaster. How about that?
Sure.
And now it's going to go into way more detail. As you can see, it's kicking that out, and it's giving you, again, you can ask it whatever you want. And
I have You Get Ski Girl on Rumble, and she's saying she uses it daily.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great to hear. I mean, we want you to use it daily. That's why we offer it, and it's free, and please use it. And it not only can it just answer questions, but it can write things for you. It can create articles. It can summarize science papers. It can expand your bullet points into full paragraphs. It can also translate into different languages. So, it's a full-fledged engine. It'll even write code, but it's not anywhere near the best at that. It will write, average code, but we didn't build it for writing code.
Wow. And so now let's talk about writing the book, because I remember just a couple of weeks ago, your first book came out. I think it was a dog book.
Yeah, I was playing around with, but we've had a lot of dog books generated. So let me show you this right here. So Jeffrey, let's and we probably won't be able to do the whole process here, but I can show you the really cool parts.
If you put a third, you present, I can present it a lot, so it'll be a lot bigger.
Oh, okay. Can we do that on our side? Can we do a present?
It's under the StreamYard.
Okay, it's on the screen, the StreamYard page there. See if you can find that. All right, Jeffrey, give me a topic that you want a book to be about, and we can keep it simple.
Well, let's do the example of Jeffrey Prather's poems and major memes, because that's what we're going to do.
Well, but we would have to feed it in all your stuff in order to do that, because it won't know your poems. But more like how about a practical topic? How to do something in the world that like a practical skill set or something like that.
Okay, sharpening a knife.
Oh, how to sharpen. Okay. How to sharpen knives. Oops, knives and tools. How about especially in an off-grid situation? Okay, and let's ask it. And also about the best kinds of blades for all uses, including self-defense. Is that cool?
Well, that would be a Prather war buoy.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I put in that prompt. Now, don't share my screen for right now. I got to type in my secret token. I don't want that broadcast. Okay, let me type in my.
I didn't see it yet, so don't worry about it. I see.
Okay. All right, so now I'm hitting submit. Okay, you can share my screen again. And I don't know, can you see this, Jeffrey?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, it's generating the outline of the book that we want. It's building the outline right now. Here's off-grid sharpening techniques. That's chapter 2.
Oh,
Here's
cool.
Choosing the best blades for every purpose. That's chapter 3. I chose a 5-chapter book. And then here's self-defense blades and ethical considerations. Long-term blade care and maintenance. That's chapter 5. Now it's going to generate a title for this book. Stand by, that'll just take a second or a couple of seconds. And then after that, it will create the cover art once we approve the title. So here's the title: The Edge of Survival, Mastering Bladecraft, Sharpening, and Self-Reliance in the Wild.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, the engine is very good. And it's based on our AI training. So now it's going to generate the cover art, which will blow your mind. Now this will take a minute. So we'll come back to it. Go ahead and you can take my screen down for a minute. This will take about a minute, Jeffrey, to generate the cover art. And then after that, then we hit go and we answer a couple other small questions like what kind of writing style do you want? Is it instructional? Is it whimsical? Is it easy reading, etc.? And then you put in your name and your email address and you hit go. And then it can take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how many other books are in the queue, and it will generate the book. It'll do all the writing, the fact checking, the references, the indexing, and then the packaging into a PDF, and it'll publish it online also, and it'll send you a link.
Wow. Somebody's asking, can it rewrite or reform? Can it write code to reform the other engines? Oh,
it must be talking about the AI engine. Yeah. Real quick, we'll answer that, but show my screen now. Here's the cover. Look at the cover it came up with. You see that? The Edge of Survival.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, mastering bladecraft, sharpening, and self-reliance in the wild. So you see the cover theme, the style, the fonts, the images, everything matches the topic in an incredible way. Our cover art prompting is just off the charts great. So
that is really excellent.
Yeah, any topic, anything. We've had amazing cover art on topics from UFOs to, anything that you can think of. And then anyway, after that, I'm not going to do it right now, but after that, we would click continue and we would fill it in, and we would just finish the process. And that's how it works.
But this is really a form of cyber resistance to the deep states in propagandization and control of information flow. That's the most important part, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, well, go ahead and let me just finish the submission, and maybe it'll generate during our show here. Okay, so let me just finish this, and I'll put in. Don't show my screen here. I'm going to put in my email address. I'm going to click continue. Okay, and then here's a screen. It says the book has been submitted successfully, and we're number 1 in the queue. So it says it'll be 20 minutes. Okay, so if we wait, and it might do it faster. So probably right before the end of the show, we'll have the book, I'm guessing.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
So we'll keep an eye out for that, and you can go to the homepage of books.brightlearn.ai, and you can see, like, the book will just pop up here.
And so, how many books have you got already?
519 currently.
And is there any way to check the accuracy level of any of them?
Yes. So, well, first of all, we have a unique approach that has near zero hallucinations. So these aren't just simple prompts that say to the engine, write a chapter about this. No, we have multiple layers of research documents and document indexing and we have many millions of documents in our index, so that when each chapter cites references, those are real documents. We do not cite references from the memory of the AI engine. So all hallucinations in AI come from the internal knowledge of the AI engine, where it thinks, oh, there must have been a book, called this, or there must have been a movie like this, or there must have been a court case. We disallow our writing engines from using internal memory from the LLM. We only use really external.
Yeah, that's because hallucinations with AI, they'll even use citations,
yes,
which are false, the citations are real, but they do not support the conclusions of the citations.
So we've eliminated all of that. We've really solved this issue. And, it wasn't inconsequential to do. I mean, this took a lot of effort.
That's huge. I mean, is there any other AI engine doing that?
I'm not aware of any other application like this that uses our approach to eliminate hallucinations and create research documents. I think we're the only ones doing this. I think we're the only book creation engine that exists that I'm aware of. Maybe there are others, but I doubt that they use this approach. So what we're doing now is we're adding, over the next few months, we will have millions of additional books and science papers in our indexed references. We already have podcasts. We've got interviews with you, Jeffrey. Like, every interview that you and I have done is in the index, and it could cite our interview if it's relevant to the chapter that's being written. So when our engine does the research, it actually sorts through tens of millions of documents, and it brings back paragraphs or chunks of text that are relevant to the chapter. It hands those chunks of text over to the chapter writing AI agent that says, hey, write this chapter. Here's the chapter plan, because we have an architect that oversees the entire book planning, and it gives each chapter writer a 10-point plan, and then it gives it the research data from the index documents and says, use only these documents as citations. So that's kind of a little bit under the hood of how it works.
And Trump is about to bring about federal law to control all state AI regulations, I believe. So talk about the ramifications of what that means.
Well, number one, on the positive side, it is necessary to have a universal rule set, whatever that happens to be, because we don't want states like California to push their own AI censorship legislation that would penalize AI that says things like, climate cult is a cult, or AI that says, a man can't become a woman. So what California wants to do is what the EU is doing, is they want to force AI engines to lie to you and push their radical left-wing or globalist propaganda. So again, on the positive side, what Trump is doing is saying, we need just one set of rules for the whole country. Otherwise, we're going to stifle AI innovation. So I agree with that aspect of it. The unknown part of what Trump is doing is where will his administration put any kind of guardrails or rules on AI under the rubric of safety. So they like to talk about AI safety and protecting children from AI, which is important in its own way, but usually that claim gets bastardized into something that's more like AI censorship. And of course, we focus on uncensored AI and uncensored books. If you see all the topics, like on my screen right now, here's Weather Wars. This is all about geoengineering.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. If you look through our books, the longevity equation here, a lot of these are very controversial books. Kratom, there's a controversial topic, right? Kratom Unveiled. So you would never see a mainstream book publisher be willing to publish books on these topics, most of them. That's why we need to go outside the system. And so we need AI tools that are uncensored, that are open source, that we can build on top of, which is what we have done. So whatever Trump does, I think he's off to a good start with that rule announcement, but we have to make sure that we don't stifle innovation and we don't push censorship and guardrails, which is what the Democrats will absolutely want to do if they regain power. So uncensored open source AI is the path to winning the AI race and making America great again, really. And using it responsibly, with morals and ethics like we do. But that's not what OpenAI is doing. So there you go.
Yeah, because there are no morals and ethics with OpenAI.
Right.
But what's the influence of, hypothesize on the influence of Thiel, who's always having seminars about the Antichrist, and Musk, who I got to say, X is the most free platform out there. It's exposing all the Zionism. It's standing up for Candace's exposés on the TPUSA cover up. And I know from being betrayed many times, it's always the people closest to you that are doing the betraying. I mean, there's a huge dichotomy between what you see on X and then what you see on mainstream. And then someplace in the middle is YouTube and Rumble and all the other. So what's the influence you see there? Because he's highly influenced by Israel, by Thiel, by Musk.
Well, so Elon Musk has gone partway toward free speech, and it's a positive step, but not all the way. And clearly, they started taking down a lot of videos out of Gaza and things like that in the last few months. But they've continued to allow a level of speech that most other platforms do not allow. My point is we should not rely on platforms where one person can censor you because of their beliefs. So decentralization of this technology is the long-term answer to this. And by the way, we sued X, and that lawsuit is still pending. We sued X along with Google and YouTube and Meta and others, and the Department of Defense, by the way. It's named in our Brighteon lawsuit. And that was because of the Jack Dorsey censorship and deplatforming. That's not what Elon Musk did. That was before Elon. But X has still not agreed to settle with us on this lawsuit. They still want to fight it in the court. So they're not as pro free speech as you think. And they still block links to our video platform, Brighteon.com. So they disallow those links.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I remember that forever. Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah. So X is not a free speech platform. It is a controlled speech platform that self-identifies as a free speech platform, if you will. We build actual free speech platforms like Brighteon.social or Brighteon.io, which is blockchain powered through clients. There's no server at all, completely decentralized, technically decentralized. But of course, those are not very popular compared to X or any of the others, and they will probably never be that popular. So Elon controls the conversations to a large extent of what happens online, and some good and some bad. So let's just hope he keeps moving in the direction of free speech.
So there's a discussion going on about the Bible is the only true facts. So have you? They're saying, asking if you've uploaded the Bible into Brighteon AI.
Well, it's been trained on not just the various versions of the Bible, but also a lot of writings about the Bible. So if you ask it to create a book based on scripture, it will do a very good job with that. But as you know, there's 100 different varieties of the Bible.
Well, that's what you're already talking about is the modern Protestant Bible, 66 books. The Catholic Bible, the Ethiopian books have Bibles 88. Have 88 more, the more correct, and then you get into the translation problems.
Yeah, well. Exactly. So you can get bogged down in. I mean, you could spend a lifetime just trying to collect the writings that went into the Old Testament. So anyway, it's competent on scripture discussions. But if you're going to generate a book about the Bible, the most important thing is to put in your prompt lots and lots of detail. You can actually put in almost a small booklet in the prompt. So you can put in up to, I think it's 75,000 characters in the prompt. And I suggest that you do that. For example, Jeffrey, we can take this interview and we can generate a transcript off this interview. And then we can just take that transcript and paste it into the book prompt. And it will create a book based on our conversation. And it will be amazing. And it will be right in line with what we're talking about here. And so you don't have to overthink the prompting. I've seen people that have the tokens that are used right now, because it's not yet free to the public, but it will be shortly. But currently you need a token to generate a book. And we give out tokens to our customers at our store. But again, there'll be a free tier opened up very soon. But I've seen people have tokens and then hesitate to use them because they think that they need more planning. And I just want to encourage people, you really don't. Like, we just did a book about knives, right? What did that take? 60 seconds to write the prompt or less?
But you can go back in and edit it too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can download the PDF and you can edit the PDF using any tools you want. All of these books are offered under a Creative Commons attribution license, which means you can even use them commercially. I mean, we have people that are creating books on this engine, and they're telling me they're going to sell these books on Amazon. And I'm okay with that. That's great. Create a business, create a business, generate the most awesome books, and then sell like a package of 10 books on Amazon, digital versions on Kindle or whatever, sell it for $9.99 or whatever. That's awesome. I love that idea. I want to help people innovate and become entrepreneurs and create revenue streams using these AI tools that also help spread knowledge and information to people.
That's really cool, because really what you're doing then is you're also applying an engine to the small businessman entrepreneur class to reignite the great engine of America, which generates the middle class in the first place, which
that's right,
all the oligarchs are trying to destroy. So that's a really cool feature as well.
Yes. So it's creating business opportunities for people. And also probably by Christmas, I'll start having the different automatic translations of the books. So many of the books, especially the more popular ones, will begin appearing in Spanish. And then they'll begin appearing in other languages, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and then French, German, Italian, Russian, you name it. Because of AI, we have the ability to issue multilingual versions of these books, and then to even allow people to come in and use an interface in Espanol and to create a book from scratch in Espanol with a Spanish title. It's a cover art, all of that. And on top of that, we also have audio conversations that are generated for some of the books. So can you show my screen again? If you click on the audio available link, you see all these books have audio available. It's kind of a 15-minute conversation. It's not a full audio book yet, but we're moving toward that. And so sometime next year, you'll be able to download free audio books for a lot of our top books. So imagine, and they sound human because the AI voices are so good right now. So we take the book, we generate the audio, we package it, we let you download it. You can download the audio here right now on all these books. So
And
that's where this is going.
That's really, really important because, ever since the Great American Meetup, people have been asking me, what are we going to do with all these illegals? Because we're never going to deport all of them, specifically because the government's still doing it. It's depopulation by repopulation. But my answer has always been, we are going to co-opt them the way the early Christian martyrs co-opted the Romans, who could not be conquered, but could be co-opted.
Right.
And so this mechanism of multiple languages, of multiple availability, of creating small business entrepreneur opportunities is part of that co-option resistance process, isn't it?
100%. And by the way, our book is done. So let me bring up the page. Here it is, The Edge of Survival, Mastering Bladecraft Sharpening and Self-Reliance in the Wild. I should have credited you as the co-author. Sorry about that. But but anyway,
that's okay. I'll do a book on the Prather War Buoy by Tops Knives. It's wildly popular worldwide.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to give you all the tokens you want. You can have fun with this engine. But so you can click here to start reading it. And once you click here, then here you go. Here, here's chapter 1, etc. Chapter 1, part 1, and you can go through the whole table of contents on the left side, and you can read every chapter you want.
What's the hook? Read out chapter 1, part 1. Just give us the hook there.
Okay. Understanding the science behind sharp edges and why they matter begins with grasping the fundamental physics at play. A sharp edge, by its very nature, concentrates force over a smaller surface area, significantly reducing the effort required to perform cutting tasks. The principle is rooted in basic physics. Pressure equals force divided by area. And it goes on like that. So it's giving you the introduction of why we need sharp, instruments here. And it goes on from there. Here, subsection 2, the essential differences between honing, sharpening, and stropping, which all about all that stuff, being a swordsman yourself there, Jeffrey. Identifying common blade materials and their sharpening requirements, etc. It just goes on. So this, believe me, this is a comprehensive guide to sharpening, and it's available now. We just created it in 20 minutes or less, whatever it took.
Here's a question from Fish Guy. What if the G via Trump's EO decides to mitigate knowledge distribution via AI? How can you harvest this knowledge and keep it offline for your own private library and resource?
So it's not going to be possible for any administration to block the sharing of knowledge at this point.
Yes, that's right.
The cat's out of the bag. And also for our books, you can download them all. We'll have category downloads. You'll be able to download a zip file for each category and get all the books and have them locally. But the way this is going, you'll be running local AI on your laptop or your phone. Our AI model, actually, that we've released for free, is running on a lot of people's phones and laptops. It's actually pre-installed. Like one company that sells de-Googled phones pre-installs our model on the phone. So even without internet, you can use it. And they sell laptops, same thing. So
specifically for de-Googled phones, because I know a lot of my audience likes those. Yes.
Yeah, de-Googled phones. Yeah, and the company is called Above Phone, if you want to check them out. But the way this is moving is open source is moving to the edge, which means to your devices, your laptop, your phone, or your desktop computer. That's where AI is pushing. And those engines are becoming more and more capable. In fact, literally just today, the Mistral company out of France just released a new edge model. I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Mistral Mini or something. And it's scoring amazingly on these benchmarks, even just being, I think, a 24 billion parameter model that can run on laptops. I never thought I would see that on a laptop. So the edge models are becoming super capable. The data is becoming freely available, like through what we are doing. And thus anybody that would try to censor AI models or knowledge or books, yeah, come on. It's not going to work.
No, it's just 3D printing is also another force for freedom that is going to not allow things to be controlled, even though it's kind of primitive right now.
That's right.
Just like trying to disarm America. America will never be disarmed. It cannot be disarmed.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I've used I mean, I've drilled out receivers with the routing machines and the GG code and all that. I've done that too, just to see the process. So yeah, I could make a firearm. I mean,
Well,
I've made AR lowers.
That's also probably why. Well, is that why the NFA is going away? Congress has moved forward to get rid of the NFA stamp tax, and now they've sent a letter to Congress saying, "Hey, by the way, the reason we want to get rid of the stamp tax was to get rid of the whole NFA. This is our clarification of our intent, DOJ to Bondi."
Yeah, I mean, the NFA is so obsolete. What the current rendition is from the 1960s, I think. I mean, it's insane. And when I go out and buy suppressors, why do I have to, pay a tax stamp? I guess that's going away here in January, I think.
Yes, that goes away in January. Yes.
Yeah, but why do I have to go through the process to buy a suppressor? I just want to, not annoy my neighbors when I'm sighting in my rifle. So, or I'm on a ranch. I need to do something at night. I don't want to wake everybody up for miles around.
No, it's going to happen, because if it doesn't happen right away, there'll be a lawsuit brought that we will stand up to.
But I love what you're talking about. The trend is decentralization. So decentralization of manufacturing through 3D printing, of creation of content through engines like our book engine, decentralization of AI knowledge, decentralization of content, and decentralization of compute. This is really key. As more microprocessors become more capable and more available, like right now, you can go out and buy NVIDIA, gaming cards, and you can run AI models on them, and that's what we all do for inference. And those are readily available, and they're incredible of what you can fit in a box. Like in NVIDIA's new, what's it called? The Spark box. It's the size of it's smaller than a toaster. And 10 years ago, that would have been racks of servers in a data center. And it's in one little box that just plugs into your wall outlet now. And it does AI model training and inference. It's amazing. So that's going to continue.
A key point here is this decentralization builds the resiliency of the resistance to the deep state, to the global cabal.
Absolutely.
That's really key. So you're trying to squish it out one place like Mercury, and then it pops up someplace else.
Well, yeah, exactly. And through decentralized file sharing, such as torrent websites, for example, we encourage people to take our books and put them on torrent sites and let people download the entire catalog through, torrents, or through decentralized social media platforms like we have, Brighteon.io, or others that are out there. Again, unless they turn off all electricity, which would obviously collapse civilization, they can't stop the sharing of knowledge. They can't really censor. They can censor for lazy people who just launch a browser and there's a Google box there and they type everything into Google because they don't know any better. Yeah, well, those people are NPCs anyway. They're not the kind of people that shape the future. But for those of us who are the engineers and architects of the world that we are creating together, we cannot be stopped through censorship.
That's
as
right.
Is proven by the success of your show and the fact that we're talking here today. So that's why it's great to join you.
No, it's great to have you. I know you got to go shortly, pretty here. So I've taken a lot of hit and censorship for calling Trump a Jewish president, for calling out American Christian Zionism. Are you finding that as well?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, anytime you criticize Israel, you're going to be called, an anti-Semite, a term that's now lost all meaning. But I don't focus on Israel. I focus on humanity. That if I'm commenting about Israel, it's really from the same value system if I'm commenting about Ukraine or South America or whatever's happening in the world. I believe that access to knowledge is a fundamental human right. And I believe that not being bombed to death as children and civilians and women and doctors is also a fundamental human right. And if that bombing were happening anywhere, I would speak out against it, not just Gaza, let's say, or Lebanon or the West Bank. I would speak out against it anywhere. And I have done so over the years. So we have to get past this era of our world where it's just, bomb everybody into compliance. or assassinate leaders to get the ones you want, or sanction everybody in the world until they bow down to your currency. And frankly, I think we are about to see the end of that whole era. We're just by necessity. We're going to have this very bumpy road of a transition, moving us into a whole new future. And frankly, Trump just released the national security statement that actually seems to acknowledge that we can't just fight everybody in the world. We can't go to war with China and Russia and everybody, that we have to focus in the Western Hemisphere. We have to focus on America. And I mean, the fact that Trump has come around to that point, that's major, because he wasn't there, when he was sworn in, I don't think. Things have changed with Trump. And I also think Trump is sick and tired of Netanyahu, frankly. Aren't we all?
Wow.
I do. I mean, he's still under the thumb because of Congress and all the infiltration of the cabinet. But I think Trump himself wants Zelensky gone, and he wants Netanyahu gone. And that's why he wants a pardon for Netanyahu. So Netanyahu can actually resign and get out of the way and not go to jail. That's my theory.
But Netanyahu has already rejected that.
Well, because he wants everybody around him to force him to stay in power. And there's a lot of blackmail they've got because of the Epstein files. They've got all kinds of blackmail on so many power brokers in the U.S. But I think,
on the other hand, I think you agree with me that Southern Spear, that effort against military against paramilitary drug forces, which is really the global cabal, dark economy, is legitimate and authentic.
Yes, that I did a podcast on that today. That's really, Trump is at war with the City of London and the British Crown. And the British Crown is behind so much of the drug trafficking, human trafficking, and money laundering through all their offshore, Caribbean island nations and all that. So and the British Crown tried to destroy Trump, in his first term, and they may have been behind the assassination attempts and so on. So
well, I know
anyway,
you got a hard stop. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been great, and we'll do it again real soon.
Thank you, Jeffrey. God bless you. Take care now.
God bless. So that's my good friend, Mike Adams. I know he's got to go to do another show. I wanted to let him go, but really important information. Fish Guy says, thank you, Mike Adams, for spending the time and money on this project. That is great. We have been using Enoch in our homeschooling. Wow. Very cool. That's excellent there. So I also wanted to go over my Substack sermon, as well as several other things. And that is why we are the envy of the angels. Christmas is the happiest time of the year because it celebrates the birth of the Christ child. And in Christ child, we see the sinless perfection of every newborn child, filled with innocence, wonder, and hope. Christmas is about Christ, but the focus is on our children. The trappings and traditions of Christmas, the lights, the tree, wrapped presents, fires, stockings are most wonderful for us when we see the joy and wonder of the season reflected through the eyes of our children. And for a brief time, we become childlike in wonderment and joy as well. Christmas celebrates the birth of the most important child ever born, while simultaneously reminding us of the miracle of new life in every child. In the innocence of every newborn is the hope of a new and better world. In the Holy Family, every family is reflected as sacred. Last week, I spoke on the removal and replacement of the name of Yeshua, Jesus, from the mainstream culture, politics, and media, and I called Trump America's first Jewish president, and a Zionist one at that, who puts Israel, not America, first. Judaism denies Yeshua as Messiah. A republic is buoyed by a virtuous populace based upon Christian morals. Therefore, a president who denies Christ denies Christian morals. Thus, we can never restore a republic without first reestablishing a Christic, not necessarily Christian, moral base. Trump, with his constant political counterpunching, may embody the Torah's eye for an eye, but he surely lacks Yeshua's teaching of forgiveness and prayers for enemy, something I got to work on too. In denying Christ, Judaism and Trump are anti-Christic, just as Mike Adams said. Jews in general, rabidly so, I can assure you from personal experience. Demanding tolerance, they offer little of it in return. Because of their religion, they believe they are a race apart and superior to all others. This is the antithesis of Yeshua's teachings. The republic is replaced by the deep state cabal. Cabal, as in Kabbalah, Jewish occult hidden knowledge teachings derived from spiritual beings known as Sephiroth. Trump has a Kabbalah teacher. Once we leave the straight line of scripture, we are easily led into temptations, following crooked lines of tradition and superstition. And just as suddenly, evil is trivialized into institution. Like Christmongers who knock congregants down, inversing how Yeshua raised the faithful and even the dead up, thus replacing Jesus with their scam spirituality, Jewish false rabbis veer off into dangerous and demonic territory as well. This week on X, I posted a video of a kippah-wearing Chabad Lubavitcher explaining quite casually that the blood-stained mattresses pulled from the New York tunnels last year was because they had performed bloodletting rituals on recently deceased members in an attempt to reanimate the corpses with the spirit of their dead Messiah, Rebbe Schneerson. In the Chabad Lubavitch cult, golem zombies are not limited to horror films. They are religious rites. But the Pentecostals and Lubavitchers are far from alone in the bizarre realm of false faiths. In our state religion of scientism, death is deified and preborn child sacrifice is the standard, and always in the name of so-called scientists. The FDA just announced that Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine caused at least 10 children to die, yet Trump has just assigned Pfizer to run state Medicaid programs. By their sorceries, pharmakia, were all the nations deceived in Revelation 18:23, could not be clearer. Yet across the Christmonger merchant class, we see pastors vehemently denying the obvious truth, including Franklin Graham, who even fired staff who refused the death jab. Jesus is replaced by the state religion of scientism, which runs the slick scam of requiring evidence of the creator inside the creation, which is akin to searching for the watchmaker inside the watch. Evidence of the watchmaker is everywhere, but the watchmaker will never be found in the watch because he cannot be contained in his creation. Put another way, God is not Bigfoot. Stop looking for the tracks. But the complex eyes you look at the ground via sunlight all obviously scream intelligent design by, of course, a designer. Last week, I concluded by saying a new younger generation of scripture studying Christ followers was emerging, not fooled by Darby and Schofield, evangelical babblers, sham scientism, or spiritual showmen. I said Charlie Kirk was the first of the new martyrs, but not the last. And like the original martyrs who co-opted, not conquered the Roman Empire, the blood of the new will co-opt the failing American empire. And that's the good news. The bad is it will take a river of blood to make it happen. Ours. But to be clear, Kirk was not killed for turning against Israel. He was killed for turning to Christ. And in turning to Christ, he found truth that terrified the tyrants of this world. Surrounded in the jingoism of Judaism and the corruption of Christianity, it is easy, as one of my longtime students does, to become angry at what we have made the world. But again, that goes to misplaced belief in man, human secularism, as opposed to faith in God. Without Christ, we are broken and can never be fixed. But it also goes to fundamental misunderstanding of good and especially of the nature of evil. And this is the point. Good is intentional help. Evil is intentional harm. Life and freedom are good and from God. Death and slavery are evil and from the devil. We are immersed in the goodness and greatness of the Creator's creation, especially at Christmas. Newborns and Christmas kids are totally innocent and sinless because they have yet to be sinned against, as we were all once upon a time. As they interact with the fallen world, they are sinned against, and they too begin sinning. The most egregious of these are the crack and other babies sinned against by their own mothers while still in the womb. The world is a dark place full of evil. I know this better than most because of my professions. And online, I've witnessed abortions, beheadings, and child organ harvesting. We are so propagandized by the extent of evil or seduced by its glamour that we believe the lie that we are overwhelmed by the evil of the world. But nothing is further from the truth. And this, by the way, is how I, despite being betrayed countless times and sinned against endlessly, stay positive, faith-filled, and hopeful. Good and evil are not equivalent. This is a common pulp culture myth, devil designed and acolyte acclaimed everywhere. Yet evil people, while numerous, are neither geniuses nor giants, just failures with father wounds. Father wounds are at the heart of it all. Though most are unaware, their sinful behavior is a result of them being sinned against. Yeshua says in John 16:33, I have overcome the world. He is comforting his disciples before his crucifixion, assuring them that despite the tribulation awaiting them in the world, they could have peace through him. His victory is rooted in all his life, death, and resurrection, which confirmed his authority over all things in the creation. So here's a trick question. If the world is so filled with sin, is the world evil? Put another way, since we are overwhelmed by sin, are we evil? I will pause there to see if anybody can answer that. JP, your words are amazing. Always hit home right where I need them to be. Thank you. You're welcome. In Genesis 1:31, God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was not just good, but very good. But by Genesis 6:5, God's decision to send the flood is rooted in his deep sorrow and grief over the state of humanity, which had become overwhelmingly corrupt. God is grieved because every intention of man's thoughts of his heart was only evil continually, and he regretted having created mankind in Genesis 6:6. This regret is not a sign of surprise or error in creation, but rather reflects God's passionate involvement with his creation and his profound sorrow over humanity's persistent sin and violence. The earth was so unimaginably filled with corruption that God determined to destroy all living creatures, including humanity, except Noah and his family, because of this pervasive wickedness. But we are post-flood. And again, everything in the Creator's creation, all of the creatures, including the angels and Lucifer, were originally inherently good. Our nature as image bearers is to reflect goodness and light. We were created good, perfect. But our fallen human nature, not original sin, our behavior causes us to miss the mark. Evil is not the equivalent of good. It is the absence of good. Evil is the cancer of sin. But just as cancer cannot exist except on healthy tissue, evil can only exist on goodness. Evil is no more our natural state than is a cancer in our body or a cavity in our tooth. As the creation and the creatures in it are subsets of the Creator, so is evil a subset, a behavioral choice to good. This is why sinless Yeshua says he has overcome the world. In him, with every brand new baby, we see the thrill of hope, and a weary world rejoices in the sight. We give evil way too much attention because we are constantly inundated by the pop culture celebrations of it. Just take a look on any given day of TV, film, and commercial spots for evil, demons, and false gods. Right now, the Greek versions seem to be in vogue. And the news should be taglined, "This is fear porn for today." This is why the old 666 Google logo and motto of "Don't do evil" are lies. The subject of the sentence is evil. Shorten and remove the don't, and the true message is revealed. As with Apple's logo bite, CERN's sign, Monster's design, and a dozen of others, we are surrounded, inundated, immersed, and injected with it daily on a constant basis. And personal electronic devices only make it much worse. To paraphrase Mark Twain, evil is halfway around the world in the morning before good gets its pants on. I'm a big Mark Twain fan. The promotion of homosexuality is another example. The perversion of the act of procreation is a sterile mimicry of why the angels envy us. Like God, we can join in holy marriage and create life, new life in the creation. But the reason for the explosion of homosexuality is twofold. First, it is not only mainstream but publicized and glamorized. Every TV girl show has a gay best friend who's always funny, clever, understanding, and there to empathize. I have known and taught many homosexuals and lesbians over the decades, still do. None of them are well-adjusted and wise, none. This is because the second reason is that homosexuality and lesbianism, in the main, a behavior response to childhood trauma. And for those of you childless married couples, yours is the sin of omission. For you spouses that are faithful but celibate, that too is a sin of omission. The childless couples selfishly hoard their love, while the faithful but celibate couples with children do the same just to each other. It is the same sin. The absence of children, like the absence of marriage, lovemaking, is still the absence of love freely given. And the absence of love freely given is the absence of the work of faith. The absence of outcome, children, is the why behind the prevalent promiscuity of homosexuals. There is no fruit, so they are never sated. This is the seduction of evil phase of obsession. Not only is the act sterile, but it brings pain, disease, and death, not health and life. And yet, like drugs and alcohol, which poison and pain us, they are celebrated as glamorous, fulfilling, and happiness-bringing. The sinned against use drugs and alcohol to numb the pain of the sins they have experienced. And in their numbness and pain, they refuse to be vulnerable and transparent. That then leads them to sin more. Homosexuals long for denied male father love and seek it in another way, in a behavior that is promoted and publicized in every TV show and film, but in the end only brings more pain and loneliness, because it will never be the kind of father love they need. The epidemic of chaos and violence is a resultant of fatherlessness in the Black community as well. Everywhere we turn, we see the disaster and destruction wrought by failed or absent fathers' loves. No one knows this better than me, adopted out of St. Joe's orphanage by a mountain of a man. But this is the divine genius of the opening of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, our Father. We get to claim God as our true Father, no matter what our earthly dads did to us or didn't do. To relieve the oppression we are all under, we must ask for, pray for, and focus on mercy. This is why we must pray for our enemies. To break the chain of obsession, we must ask, pray, and focus on justice while granting it whenever and wherever we can without expecting it. To counter the infection of evil, we must continually purify our lives. And when we purify our lives, those lives we touch are purified at our touch point. Maybe just a little. But that is why we must keep reaching and touching. To stop the infestation of evil after purification, we must lead more rarefied, sanctified lives that consistently lead us closer to Christ. And to free ourselves from possession, we must admit that we cannot do so alone and on our own, that we must rely on Christ. And at no time of the year is this more easily done than now, because we give so much less purchase at this time of year by simply focusing, as we should all year, on the good. Christmas is the most joyous time because it is the one time of the year when families still unite, and we stop focusing on the evil of the world and see it through our children's eyes. Like fresh fallen snow glittering in the moonlight, all is calm and bright, because we are, as Yeshua commanded, for once a year, doing as he said to do. I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. Matthew 18. And that is my Substack sermon from Sunday. And a lot of folks who have been around for 25, 30 years have said that is my best yet. So checking on what you guys are saying here. Be more like Christ. Yes. Lovely ending. You are most welcome for that. I also wanted to mention that the J6 pipe bomber STOOGE was identified by the FBI back in 2021. This autistic nerd Cole is as guilty as Crooks or Robinson. As usual, nothing fits the script, so we will see the usual cover-up and twisted verbal gymnastics to sell the story, even though few are still buying other than the bloated, paid-off politicians of the Uniparty. Identifying Cole was held off so that J6ers could be entrapped, revealing the real Capitol Police bomber, now rewarded with a CIA cop job, would reveal the whole show. And the showman cannot have that. And it was not Biden's FBI any more than it is Trump's now. It says Biden's FBI knew Brian Cole was the January 6th pipe bomber in April 21. So they're buying into that. I'm certainly not buying into that. They're saying this Brian Cole, 30 of Woodbridge, Virginia, was taken into custody and charged with the use of an explosive device. They did this through phone pings and transaction history. And the January 6th Select Committee, chaired by the GOP Representative Loudermilk, posted its pipe bomb report and compared it to the affidavit released by Patel's FBI. In April 2021, the case team identified a user who was in the area of the DNC at the time. The suspect can be seen on video footage using the phone. The FBI requested to receive the historical cell tower data. And so the affidavit released by Kash Patel's FBI revealed Biden's FBI had to have known Brian Cole was the pipe bomb suspect then, because provider records show that the Cole cell phone connected with the provider cell phone towers, consistent with the Cole cell phone being in the area of the RNC and DNC on January 2nd, 2021. The Cole cell phone engagement in approximately 7 data session transmissions with provider towers between 7:39 p.m. and 8:24 p.m. So this is basic. This is not very complicated 1811 special agent work. They put this together back in 2021. It came out in the congressional report. They've been hiding it. Because they wanted to prosecute the J6ers. And they're also going to continue to set up this autistic nerd guy, because revealing the real bomber, who is the female Capitol cop now at the FBI as a cop, would bring down the whole show. Cole's family said he's an autistic recluse and computer nerd who lives in his basement. And that's very typical of the FBI setting up somebody mentally deficient. They have a long history of doing this with Islamic terror suspects as well. And a 25-year DEA veteran has just been charged with helping the Mexican drug cartel launder millions of dollars and securing guns and bombs. Paul Campo, 61, of Oakton, Virginia, who retired from the DEA in 2016 after a 25-year career. So I was in with him. I don't think I knew him, though. Was indicted. U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton said Campo betrayed the DEA career by helping the cartel, which he said was responsible for countless deaths through violence and drug trafficking in the United States and Mexico. Campo and his informant Sensi agreed to launder about $12 million in drug proceeds for the cartel and converted about $750,000 in cash to cryptocurrency. I think it was going to the group when it was really going to the U.S. government, the indictment said. And this was the DEA's chief financial officer. The DEA has been roiled in recent years by several embarrassing instances of misconduct. The Associated Press has tallied at least 16 agents over the past decade brought up on federal charges, ranging from child pornography and drug trafficking to leaking intelligence to defense attorneys and selling firearms to cartel associates, revealing gaping holes in the agency's supervision. Campos had boasted about his law enforcement experience during conversations with the informant, offered to be a strategist for the cartel. And he began his career out of DEA New York. So recall me saying that by the mid-2000s, I felt that many, not all, but particularly the New York DEA mafia were in fact actual criminals. Remember, the worst supervisor I had was a DEA agent out of New York, Ira Israel. Note the name. Just thought they were crooks, and I was hanging out with crooks, not cops. They're covering for each other while getting all the cushy overseas assignments. That's exactly what happened with Israel. The worst of the worst, coincidentally, was a true scumbag named Ira Israel. Looks like I was right about all of that, which makes me feel better about being fired 1 year from retirement by them. And finally, Netanyahu has just paid and trained 1,000 American Christian pastors to promote Israel when they return to America from Israel. So if you read that with eyes to see, a foreign head of state who denies Jesus' divinity is ordering paid-off false Christian pastors what to preach. This is Netanyahu's response to the new American Christian intergenerational divide I've addressed in my last 2 Substacks, which are extremely important, which is why I am reading these to you. And finally, some good news is an Illinois steel furnace to reopen, bringing 400 jobs and renewed hope for recovery. A blast furnace in Granite City, Illinois, shut down for years and left for dead, is about to roar back into life in 2026. U.S. Steel, you don't hear that much. U.S. Steel has just announced it will restart the idled furnace at its Granite City work plant and hire 400 American workers to run it. In a country that has watched its steel industry shrink from 140 operating blast furnaces in the 1970s to just 12 today, this single restart is a big deal. It sure is. My dad's Cincinnati die casting company was a steel company, and that is real industry. White House spokesman Kush Denzai said, American steel, American jobs, that's what President Trump promised, and that's what President Trump is delivering. And in this case, yes, I would agree. He is doing that. So please note, I am complimenting President Trump. I worked in my dad's hot, hard factory, so always laugh when I see the biz school online colleges showing 20-somethings phone talking, whiteboarding, writing, and laptop typing while promoting flower and bike shops. This is real good news about real good, solid American industry. So closing up with some particularly good news there. But also this past weekend, I had our Daikomyo-sai Great Light training for my teacher of the Bujinkan, the grandmaster and founder of the Bujinkan, Masaki Hatsumi Soke, who is now retired, but has always been gracious and wonderful to me, taking care of me. And so we did our online training. And so I had my students across the country from Arizona to New York to Ohio on there. And then we had a nice dinner where we did toasts. And they gave me a really special gift, really touching. They donated, they did a very large collection donation to the orphanage that I was adopted out of, St. Joseph's Orphanage, and they gave me this wonderful plaque saying, in honor and loving legacy, Valletta Dome, that's my birth mom, and Maurice and Beverly Prather, those are my adopted parents, a gift donated on this date, December 6, 2025, in recognition of St. Joseph's Orphanage of Cincinnati, Ohio, for the rescue of countless children, including our beloved teacher, Jeffrey Ross Prather, Dai Shihan of the Bujinkan Yamiko Dojo, and Soke of Handgun Martial Arts Center. So very, very touching there. Means so much. And I am very blessed because much like the guy in It's a Wonderful Life, I get to see that I have touched a lot of lives. But that is really, really wonderful. So remember, before the womb we were known, so we must know. We were chosen, so we must choose. Before birth we were loved, so we must love. We are born of war, so we must war, good against evil. From before the beginning to after the end. God is good, God is intentional help. Not God is evil, evil is intentional harm. Life and freedom are good, death and slavery are evil. There are two ways, the way of life and the way of death, and they are vastly different. I chose long ago. Now you must choose.